Welcome to be in the garden. Welcome to be in nature. I trust you're well. I certainly am. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I do appreciate you, or as I like to say, appreciate love you. Here in the UK, we've had some amazing rainy and windy weathers. And I know that's been the same in other places around the world. So to be honest, at the start of this video, I just want to say to all of us, wherever we are watching from, and I know in America there have been a lot of floods, a lot of torrential rain and damage, and people have been injured and hurt and lost a lot of things. So I just wanted to take a moment to say I'm wishing every one of you well, your families, your communities. This video, I had planned for it to be a continuation of my herb garden that you'll see I've been creating. However, the weather here in the UK has been a little unpredictable also. And alas, I have to say that for me, the rain stopped play. So for those of you who were expecting a video of me completing the task of my herb garden, I was not able to do that by the time of this editing. So I'm hoping that you'll be looking forward to that on another video. In the meantime, I hope you can enjoy this video, which shows an update of how the garden is looking in autumn. This tree here is the liquid amber Straussifera. And as you can see, where it gets its name from, the leaves turn this crimson red at this time of year. In the background is the green poplar tree, but here in the foreground is the liquid amber. Some years it's just spectacular when the light is hitting the back of the leaves and the leaves almost turn translucent red. I'm just stepping away to give you a bit of an idea of what this tree looks like. We have a cloudy day, very cloudy, and it's only just stopped raining for the umpteenth time today. But I wanted to try and show you what this tree looks like in the autumn. There are some years where it's been so windy that the leaves actually all fall off, so you do not get to experience the leaf colour, the change of leaf colours. But here, this year, we can see the colour change from the green to the yellows to the reds. And I think at this time of year, there's beauty everywhere. The simplicity of the bark, the trunk of this tree, there's just beauty everywhere. The basin that I planted out not too long ago, for some reason, however, the clover, the leaves themselves, have not performed particularly well. But what is good is that it is setting down some new roots in areas, and so I'm hoping that by spring, summer of next year I'll have a good flush of the leaves once again. But that's what remains of the clover in this particular area. But the rest of the pot, or the rest of the bowl, is doing incredibly well. The Carpinus betulus hedge, or the hornbeam, it too is just showing the tinges of autumn. On this particular hedge, as the weather goes into the autumn, the leaves become dry and brown and crispy. However, the purpose of me planting this particular hedge is because what the beauty of this one is that the hedge tries to hold on to the leaves. So whilst the leaves change colour and become the rustic brown, crispy colour that they will become, the hedge itself will hold on to the leaves. And I found that to be the beauty in this particular tree. And that was my reason for planting them, so that I could have a privacy hedge between myself and adjacent properties. But whilst the leaves would disappear in colour, they would maintain their presence, albeit the crispy brown leaves. However, what does need to be said about this hedge is if we have strong winds, those winds can quite easily cause the leaves to fall. I love the bark on this tree. I absolutely adore the patterning on the trunk on this hornbeam. So this is what the hornbeam is looking like in autumn. The little experiment I did a few weeks ago in the hosta bed, if you remember, I was really having a lot of problem with controlling the slugs in here. Time will tell. Time will tell. Because it's autumn, the plant itself is getting ready to go into hibernation anyway. But I topped this bed up. But I can see most definitely some new growth here. And it's because I systematically removed all the slugs and snails from here. I topped this bed up. But I can definitely see some new growth of this is the hellebore actually that's regrowing. That said, this is the season for the hellebore to start growing because it will be putting on some beautiful flowers in the winter time. What I did add to this bed, or this raised container, was a copper strip around the inside. So I'm hoping that this has actually gone some way in preventing the slugs and snails from making their way into this particular bed. I added a copper strip on the inside of here, and the copper strip is said to be a great deterrent for slugs and snails. Time will tell. There are still a handful of blueberries on the blueberry bush over here, and they have been a delight all year, picking, eating natural fresh blueberries in the garden. But some of my blueberry bushes do still have some blueberries remaining. That's what's happening in the garden here in the autumn. I delight in this tree all through the year, the prunus, this one here with the red leaves, because once they come out in the springtime, the leaves are red from the very beginning. So this isn't a change because of the autumn. These leaves are red throughout the year. In fact, if you look closely, you can see that the leaves, which are always dark burgundy in colour, are now actually beginning to turn a more translucent sort of colour, so lighter and a little bit brownish in colour, hence preparing for the autumn. I love the way that this tree mingles with the magnolia on the other side of the garden. And actually the magnolia has been really beautiful all year. The leaves are still waxy, dense, and you can see the bud casings for what will be the magnificent flowers next year. I'm just trying to see if I can identify one. We actually had a flush of flowers again in the magnolia, and that really was because of the mixture of weather we've had here in the UK. The canopy here on this magnolia is fantastic. It's putting on growth every single year, and I do prune it back sometimes. I do. This year I have let this magnolia just do what it pleases, and I think, ooh, will I let it stay like this? I think so. I think so. It's a beautiful tree, and I'm gonna allow that tree to get even larger. The only thing is that it's on the largest sort of size in terms of its canopy, and so it is now going to be quite challenging. Hold on. the magnolia tree is just behind me. It's going to be quite challenging to prune this tree down if I wanted to. And I'm not talking about pruning it hard back. I'm just talking about taking away some of the larger outreaches of its branches. But because I've allowed it to get quite big, I may have to just let her do her thing now. I've seen sometimes along the streets in the UK where people have seen the magnolia tree and perhaps the trees have eventually gotten too large. Gotten? Is that a correct word? I think so. Or the trees have eventually become too large, and then you see this peculiar pruning back. Whenever I've pruned back the magnolia, I've done it in such a delicate way that it really hasn't affected the shaping of the tree. But here she is, anyway, autumn time with my magnolia. And just beneath my magnolia, oh, my canna lilies. And do you know what? This flower here is yet to flower, so that's incredible. We've had September, and at the time of filming, it's actually the end of September, just so that you know. But this video itself may not go out till maybe the beginning of October in terms of the series of my videos, just so that you know. But the canna lily here, oh my gosh, her leaves are just fantastic. And this has put on so much growth in the whole of this year, straight from the pot all the way up. And I suspect that this plant here is about 5 feet tall. That's me there. I'm about, where's my, let me just see if I can sort of use this camera as a mirror. There she is right there. So I'm about, and don't dare argue with me, I'm about 5'9½". I'm about 5 feet 9.5 inches tall. Don't argue with me, that's the height I am. So I'd say that this plant here has put on all this growth this year. It's a beautiful, beautiful flower. And when you see the flowers in action, she's a delight. This is the colour of that flower. It's spent now, so really it's gone over, but I'm hoping that before the year is out I do get some more flowers here. Her leaves as always are glossy and luxurious, but I did share with you in a previous video where the slugs had taken a bit of a liking to this plant. Behind the canna, so behind this canna are the bananas, and as always they have done a magnificent display. They really have. I think quite possibly this might be the tallest my banana plant has ever been. And I'm guessing, oh, I don't know, maybe 15 feet tall, I'm guessing. And I have got so many pups or smaller banana plants in here, and it really has become quite dense. I'm wondering whether it might be worth me relocating some of these banana plants to give the larger ones even more space to grow and develop. Look at the structure, look at the architecture on this plant, look at the size of these leaves. They're beautiful, absolutely, they really are. And I was given a tip on this banana plant in terms of what I can do in the winter. And you'll see some of my previous videos on what I do once the weather starts to change. And I might try and do something a little bit different this year with the banana plant. But she has been fabulous. She's done some great work. And even speaking, it's still actually putting on growth. That's a whole new leaf that's still trying to open up, as is the case with the tallest one here. So we're not done yet with this banana plant, not done yet. And if you want to see how I have, cut back the banana plant in the past, and also what I do to wrap it up for the winter, then please do have a look. I'll see if I can link that into this video here somewhere so that you can see what it is that I do with the banana plant as the winter starts to fall. But as I said, this year, I might actually try and do something slightly different, so we'll see what happens. Okay, what else is happening around the garden autumn time? Look at this apple tree. Most of my apples I have picked the majority of apples from my apple trees. I have many apple trees in the garden, but this one here has still got some, well, this one's sort of been attacked by the ants maybe actually, or not too sure, because when they fall, the ants absolutely love this one. It's full of sugar, this apple tree here. So I have got just a few apples remaining in this particular tree. But we have absolutely harvested so many apples. I do have another apple tree just adjacent to this. There are no apples remaining. We have consumed them. We've had apple pies, apple stew, all sorts. Beneath the apple tree, I have got some chard. There are some chard leaves here. So they can still be they are still being harvested. I have beneath my apple trees some blueberry bushes. These ones no longer have any blueberries because we have enjoyed these in their plenty this year. But I'm really happy to say that the bushes themselves have put on such a lot of growth this year, a lot of growth. This one here, for example, from where I pruned it back last year, has put on a good 12 or 14 inches there, and so the blueberry bushes are quite a lot here. As I've said before, I normally plant the blueberries out in their own pots only because of the issue with ericaceous soil. So I have a lot of blueberry bushes here, and they are all blueberry free on this side of the garden because we have consumed a lot of them. And here, if you just follow this one down, this is growth this year from the blueberry. Okay, so this particular growth is at least 2 feet long. 2 feet long it has put on this year. My soaps as well, handmade natural soaps just for you. Okay, there's one for each and every one of you. At the moment shipping is only in the UK though, but I thank you so much. Do you remember when I planted out this bed and I planted out a lot of ericaceous, not ericaceous soil, I planted out some echinacea, I should say. I planted out the echinacea, but alas, the echinacea are preparing to say goodbye. And I hope that they will come back and visit me again in the spring of next year. But you can see that I keep saying ericaceous now because of the soil for the blueberries. The echinacea have been at their best this year. There are one or two still there. Let's just show you. There are one or two that are still hanging in there. But for the most part, they are looking done. And what is beautiful about echinacea is that the birds love to come here and feast off these. These are the seeds of the echinacea. And actually what you can do, yesterday it rained, so I'm hoping this won't be a problem. Yeah, there we go. I can just pull this off. All I've done is just rub my finger, and these are all new seeds. Isn't nature wonderful? Always given in abundance, absolutely always given in abundance. So what would happen in nature is that these would dry out just as it is doing here, and then they will just fall to the soil. So let me assist. I'm just going to scatter these in the soil, and with my boot I'm just going to just lightly brush some soil, and I hope some of those will take. I'm really hoping that in time to come I will have lots of these flowers in this bed, allowing me to take cut flowers and bring them into the home. But there you go, these are the seeds. What I might do as well, maybe once they dry, because we've had some sorry, clear my throat, we've had a bit of we've had quite a bit of rain in the last few days, and so these are really very damp. What I'm going to do is wait for some days where they're dry, collect them and store them in some brown paper bags, and then scatter them in the spring. Or I might try and pot them into containers and grow them as seedlings in the shed and then plant them out. But these are the ericaceous. I keep saying ericaceous, you know what I mean. These are the echinacea. Moving right along, we have the sedum spectabil, and each of these is its own tiny flower. Each of those is its own tiny flower, and the leaves. And again, despite moving in to the autumn, we still have some flowers, and each of them are just so beautiful, just so beautiful, just so beautiful. Nature never disappoints me. I'm hoping that these spread and I have so much more of them next year. I really do. But just looking along the bed where I planted these out, you can see that the flowers, for the most part, have now gone. But I'm not worrying so much, because as with nature, what's happening is that these are perennials, and they do, so to speak, die back, and they will put all their energy back into the ground level. And then next year, with the seasons being just at the right conditions, they will bounce back and flower again. We had back here some anemones, sometimes referred to as September charm, but they too now have lost their petals. You know what? I forget the name of this plant here. This silvery, waxy, almost furry looking plant. Who can remind me of the name of this plant? Because I really have forgotten it at this moment. If at the time of editing I recall it, I'll put that into the list. I will put that in the editing if I can recall at that time of editing. Here we have it. This is the green. And as you can see, the autumn is just beginning to visit this plant, this tree, this hedge. And so the changing in the colours are apparent. But it's really lovely when the sun is still shining and you can see the translucent colouring of these leaves, and the sun just hits beneath the leaves, and the brightness in the colours are still a joy, even in the autumn. You can get a taste of what I'm saying just at the far end here, where you can start to see the oranges and the tinges of yellows through the leaves when they become somewhat translucent, somewhat transparent. But can you see the change in the colour is still beautiful? And that's the reason why I planted this tree in the garden. The cherries were consumed a long, long time ago. It seems like months since we had a cherry from this tree. But we, the family, were not the only ones to consume the cherries. Alas, the birds, the squirrels, no doubt, also had a great helping of the cherries from this tree. But autumn time, the cherry tree, not much to look at. It certainly doesn't seem as though, but you have these spurs where the growth of cherries will come next year. The undergrowth, if you like, I have a lot of hellebore. The hellebore beneath have been consumed by caterpillars, I take it, or slugs and snails. But as many of the plants in the garden are saying goodbye for the summer, the hellebore will be producing beautiful flowers in the winter. Yet more blueberries. And can you see how the colour in this particular one, depending on the location it is with the sun, how the colours in this blueberry has changed, and it is now this burgundy tinges of burgundy in these blueberries. They get a lot more of the afternoon sun, these blueberry bushes here, but the blueberries nonetheless are beautiful. Beneath that I have the water lilies. And if you remember, I had a small video showing you how I had repositioned them from what was dry soil into this red container with no drainage holes. But I can say absolutely definitely that because there have been no drainage holes and we've had a lot of rain this summer, that the plant has actually done better than it has done in previous years. However, I still haven't had any flowers from the water lilies, and I'm really hoping that hopefully for next year I will be able to see some flowers again. I had in my previous video explained how for maybe 19 years or so I'd not seen this plant flower, but what I can say for sure, having planted it in a container with no drainage holes and where there is water that lays in there, rainwater, that these plants, the leaves, have done the best I've seen in a long, long time. And I'm hoping with this huge growth that it's put on this year, that by next year, hopefully, I will also get the benefit of the flowers. That's what I'm hoping for. Even more blueberries, and again in another location of the garden. I think you've got the gist now. That's absolutely, our family love blueberries, and where these are positioned they do get a lot of midday sun, and you can see again just how far along these leaves have gone in terms of the colour. I mean, they are an exact example, a perfect example of autumnal colouring, you know, from a lime green to this fantastic burgundy mixed with yellow and orange. And as I said, spring is my favourite season, but autumn absolutely also does it for me. These are the blueberries. Some of you might be wondering how the grapevine went. In a previous video I did show how I pruned it back, and as you can see the leaves on the grapevine are too changing into their autumn dress, their autumn colours, but the grapes themselves have produced some clusters, and they've gone from green to black grapes, and I will be harvesting some of those soon. They're not huge bunches, but they are lovely, and these are grapes with seeds, and yes, that's good to see. So just to give you a bit of an update of the grapes in the garden, they're small size grapes, maybe just slightly bigger than blueberries in size. They have a little tang taste to them. They do have a little tangy taste to them, but we do enjoy eating these. So these are the grapes that were pruned back quite hard. The New Zealand flax never really gives me problems. Only when it's incredibly dry that some of the leaves can just shrivel up, as you can see inside, and become this sort of really tough rope-like structure. But the New Zealand flax, or the Formium, always looking beautiful in the garden. There is an apple tree not too far from it, and we've harvested the apples from this tree also. And then this is the area of the garden where, again, in a previous video I showed how I swapped the Prunus Cirillo, which is the Tibetan cherry tree, and that stands at the back. I swapped that, or put that towards the back of the garden, and brought forward the apple trees for the purpose of being able to access the apple trees a lot easier. The bird table is still filled with rainwater, and it's a joy when the birds do come down here and have a little drink. And then this part of the garden is the pond area, and I'm very mindful that I'm going to let nature do what she has to do, and maybe in the early part of next year I will be cleaning this pond out a little bit. We've got the slate stones. At the deepest end, the pond is about maybe 3 feet deep in the furthest corner away, and then it becomes a bit of a marginal pond back here. But as you can see, unless you get quite close in, there's not much of the surface area left exposed anymore. There is quite a lot of duckweed, as they say, and I won't be doing any changes to this at this time of year because there's bound to be a lot of wildlife still in that pond. But I hope to make a video of me cleaning out the pond, or just not cleaning it out, but certainly maybe removing some of the plants out, which I hope to gift to some friends, and a couple of people who I've made ponds for, and that'll be nice. But this is a lovely area, a lovely peaceful area around the garden. And just to the side of the pond, we have a pear tree. Again, we've consumed some beautiful pears from that tree this year, and there's not much, well, there isn't, but there aren't any pears remaining to show. But again, autumn time, I do tend to see those tinges of orange on the pear tree. I'm not sure why. In fact, if I zoom this in a little bit closer, can you see these two, the orange dots on the pear tree? Let's see if I can get that in focus. Yikes, I'm just trying to lean over the pond, so I'm trying not to fall as well. Let me see if I can get some focus in there. That's it there. Can anybody explain what that is on the pear trees? I'm not sure why that happens, but in different, there's another one here. It's the same, where wherever there's the dot, on the reverse of it, you see these markings. And actually, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to see if I can just try and find out what that is. I hope it's nothing I should be concerned about. Again, there's another one here. And there are those. I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on that. I hope it's nothing to worry about, because they are all over the pear tree. Beneath the pear tree, I have a sarcococca. It is preparing for the winter. This is a winter flowering plant. And so we have at the moment some tiny, 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 tiny buds from which the flowers will emerge, maybe around January, February time. But I want to say to you, thank you so much for following me around the garden. I really do appreciate you. I do. And I thank you for taking time to watch my videos and to leave comments. And if you would like to, please do. A simple thumbs up goes a long, 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 long way. And so if you are able to do that for me, I'd really appreciate. If you feel that there's been some value in this video, then go ahead and show your appreciation with a thumbs up. Well, there's a surprise. I have got some flowers . That's a beautiful surprise. The ferns. I love ferns. They're quite majestic and mysterious. And I have different types of ferns in this part of the garden. The undergrowth of that. And that is a lovely surprise to see the little comfrey flowers. That is a surprise to see the comfrey flowers. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being in the garden with me today. I appreciate you. Keep well. Until my next video. Be in the garden. Be in nature. I trust you're well. I certainly am.